Hey, welcome. Chris here from Videomaker, and you're watching our review of the Sigma 24-35 f2 art zoom and the MC-11 lens mount converter. So we want to show you some footage using the lens on both Sony and Canon cameras using the adapter and not. But before we do that, let me give you a rundown of what you're going to see in this review. Right off the bat, we're going to talk about its price and specs. Then we're going to move on to its fit and finish. How's it feel? How's it look? Then we're going to talk about our experience shooting it on Canon and Sony cameras. Then we're going to talk about our heads-up results between this lens and the Canon 24-105 f4 L series glass. Then we're going to talk about its autofocus on both native and non-native mounts, so Sony and Canon, using the adapter. Then we're going to talk about its bokeh, sharpness, its strengths and weaknesses, and then its value in the marketplace and our recommendation. So without further ado, here's that video. So what do you think of that footage? Before we get to that though, let's talk about this lens, the price and specs, and I'll give you a little bit of history. So Sigma has been around since 1961, so they're not new to the game. This lens is a 24-35 millimeter. It's got an aperture of f2 and it costs about $1,000. Now we're using it right now with the Sony a7 with the MC-11 mount converter. So it converts EF mount lenses to be able to connect to E mount bodies. So Canon EF mount lenses to E mount body. So you don't have to use it with a Sigma lens that has EF mount. You can use it with Canon or whatever brand of lens you have that has an EF mount, and you'll be able to use it now on your E mount bodies. Now the converter is $250. This lens has a field of view of 84 degrees to 63 degrees. So it's not really all that different in the throw of the lens. Now this lens is really fast. It's got an aperture of f2. That means a really shallow depth of field and a full stop greater than lenses at f2.8 and two full stops from f4 lenses. So you're really going to find that in low light or natural light conditions, you're going to be able to get a lot better exposure without having to crank your ISO. So let's talk about the fit and finish and build quality of this lens. Now it feels robust. It feels like it's gonna last a while, and it really looks nice as well. It looks like it's quality built. Now it's real easy to find the zoom and focus rings. They're big, they're easy, they're textured, and they give you good grip. They function really nicely. And well, the only drawback we found is the lens shade here is that it's a little bit hard to get off when you have it kind of stowed away like that. It's just a little bit harder, so after you wear it in a little bit, that won't be an issue. And the other direction, when you actually have it on and using it, well, that way is easy to get off. And last but not least, it looks cool. It definitely is a nice looking lens. It will make your rig look a little bit nicer, so if you're into looking cool, this would be your lens. So let's get to our experience of shooting with this lens. Now we shot it on 5 different cameras, the Sony a7, the Sony a6300, the Canon 7D Mark II, the 5D Mark III, and the Canon 1DX Mark II. Now because of the lens adapter, we were able to swap it between all those cameras, and we shot time-lapse, we shot video, we shot photos, and it really was nice to use. The fast aperture made it really nice for shooting video when we didn't have lights around. It also made a really beautiful shallow depth of field, which you need to be careful of because it's really shallow. And well, overall, it was really nice to use. So what I want to introduce to you now is heads up between the Canon 24-105 and the Sigma 24-35. The aperture is a little bit wider with the Sigma than with the Canon, but we shot everything at the same focal length and with the same aperture. So let's take a look at that and we'll break it down when we get back. So what did you think of the heads up there? Well, we didn't think there was a huge noticeable difference between either one in their sharpness or even the way they looked. So the big difference comes down to three things. The first is the Sigma is internally zooming, whereas the Canon is externally zooming. The next is the aperture. You have f2 versus f4. So that's 2 full stops more light that you can have using the Sigma. And then last but not least is the focal range. So you have 10 millimeters of focal range between 24 and 35 with the Sigma, and then you have far greater with the 24 to 105. So it's truly more like a walking around lens, whereas the Sigma is just going to be your fast wide angle lens. So autofocus, how did it do shooting autofocus? Now we shot it on both a native camera, which is the Canon 7D, which has an EF mount, and the Sony a6300 using the MC-11 adapter. When using the adapter, the autofocus was slower than with a native lens, but we were comparing it to two different cameras, so the 7D might just do autofocus a little bit faster. The big difference though is that the Canon is a lot quieter. The Sigma, it ticks when it's doing focusing, but it doesn't hunt like the Canon did, but the Canon still focused faster and quieter. So overall, it didn't really matter if the adapter was there or not as far as its performance compared to the Canon lens, but with the adapter, it did focus slower than on a camera that didn't need the converter at all. So the bokeh of this lens was quite nice. I mean, it's got a 9-blade aperture, so everything is nice and circular. And we found that when we went to infinity, actually past infinity, the bokeh was better than on the other side of the focus area. Now, we did notice that when you go past infinity, it'll let you go a little bit past infinity and everything's out of focus then. So when you actually go to the stop of the focus, now the ring keeps on rotating, but when you actually get to the end of the focus past infinity, nothing is in focus. So that wasn't what we've experienced with other lenses, and definitely not with the 24-105 Canon L series. With that said, let's take a look at our sharpness tests, and we're just going to show you some video from that, and when we come back, we're actually going to be talking about the strengths and weaknesses of this lens. Okay, now it's time for strengths and weaknesses, bad and good. What is this lens all about? So let's start off with the bad. So right off the bat, if you go past infinity, which it'll allow you to do, everything's out of focus. So if you just keep on rolling left with the focus ring, you get past infinity and everything's out of focus. So if you're trying to use infinity, it's not the stop of the focus. It actually goes a little bit past that. That's a little bit of a flaw. It's the only flaw that really is worth mentioning as far as that goes. So the good, it's got a really nice feel. It feels really nice in your hand. It feels robust and like it's gonna last a long time. And it feels like it's value. It's worth $1,000 as far as the way it's look and feel. It just feels like a nice lens. So bad thing, only a 10mm focal length, so it doesn't give you a whole big range. It gets you maybe a couple feet closer to your subject if you're at 24mm than if at 35, but not a whole lot. So that's kind of a strength weakness type of thing. It just is something you need to know if you're gonna buy this lens. It's not the walking around lens. You're probably gonna need a couple other lenses to get a little bit longer focal length. So last but not least, the last strength is that this thing is super fast. I mean, f2 is really nice for a zoom lens. I mean, it's faster than everything else in its category that's a zoom. So if you want it to be a variable prime, you have that. You can go between 24 and 35, so you can actually get the shot and zoom in a little bit. It's super fast. Now, if these were actual prime, so you had a 24 prime and a 35 prime, they'd probably be an F number of 1 point something. So you're not getting as fast as if it was two separate lenses, but you do get the focal range between. So that's really nice. And really, f2 is quite fast and really shallow depth of field. So what's the marketplace for this lens and what's our recommendation? So there isn't any other lenses at 24 to 35, so you're really not competing with anything. However, just about every manufacturer makes something around that area. It might just be a little bit wider or a little bit longer throw. As well, there's nothing that's f2. It's all f2.8 or f4. Unless you're talking about primes, then you're talking about multiple lenses. So the lens we compared to, the Canon 24 to 105, it's $1,000. So is this lens. They're both the same price. One is, of course, 2 stops faster, and then the other is quite a bit longer throw, so you're going to have some give and take there. So the closest you can get is like a 24 to 70 f2.8 to the 24 to 105 as far as in that space, and then as far as it being in the 24 to 35 range, everything's 2.8 to f4. So who is this for and who's it not for? Well, it's not for a beginner. If you are thinking about spending some money on a lens and you don't have a lens collection, or you are just buying a body and you're just getting into it, it might be worthwhile buying something a little bit more affordable just in case you lose interest or whatnot. But if you are a professional or you just want some nice glass, it's a great value. It absolutely would fit anyone shooting any events. And then if you need a lens that's good for natural light or low light conditions, this lens is going to help you because it's got that f2 aperture, so it's going to allow a lot more light in than your f4. So would we recommend it? Absolutely. It's a great lens. It looks really nice. It's really usable. It's nice to have a nice wide lens, but if you shoot maybe wildlife or birds, things that you can't get close to, well, you're gonna be really frustrated with this lens because you get that close to a grizzly bear and, well, you don't have any more life left in you. So if you get too close, don't get close to wildlife. So it's just one of those things. If you like the focal range, it's definitely going to fit you well. It'd be good for event videographers or wedding videographers, or even commercial videographers that can get in there and need to be in tight quarters. So absolutely would recommend it. And it's probably a lens that just about everybody, unless you're thinking $1,000 is just too much money for you. Hey, so there you have it. That's our review of the Sigma 24 to 35 f2 art zoom and the MC-11 mount converter. If you'd like to buy either the converter or the lens, there'll be a link in the description below, and you'll help us continue to make videos like these. As well, if you're interested in the 24 to 105 f4 Canon L series, we'll have a link for that as well. And hey, if you like this shirt, there's also a link. As always, like, share, and comment. We want to know what you think. I'm Chris from Videomaker, and until next time, keep doing the hard work that you do. Bye-bye.